A powerful storm is quietly building inside the British royal family, and this time the pressure surrounding the monarchy feels more dangerous than ever before. What once appeared to be isolated scandals and forgotten controversies is now returning all at once, pulling old names, hidden tensions, and uncomfortable questions back into the spotlight. Behind palace walls, anxiety is reportedly growing as public attention intensifies and the media begins re-examining relationships that many believed had long disappeared from discussion. At the center of this unfolding crisis is a tangled web of resurfacing accusations, shifting alliances, and growing speculation capable of shaking the royal institution once again. Figures who once seemed protected by status and distance are now finding themselves dragged back into public scrutiny. Among the most surprising names reappearing in these conversations is Sarah Ferguson, a woman who for years was treated by tabloids as a faded royal figure from the past. Yet, according to emerging reports and speculation surrounding the current turmoil, Ferguson may now be reconsidering her silence. The possibility alone has created tension within royal circles. For decades, Sarah Ferguson remained connected to important royal relationships despite no longer holding a central role within the institution. Her history with Prince Andrew places her in a uniquely sensitive position, especially as renewed attention surrounding him continues to grow. Sources tied to this narrative suggest that she may possess personal memories, private knowledge, or experiences that could complicate the public understanding of several royal figures if ever revealed openly. At the same time, Meghan Markle unexpectedly finds herself pulled back into the broader conversation, not because of any direct involvement, but because royal controversies tend to pull every connected figure into the public spotlight. Whenever major scandals emerge within the monarchy, social media discussions quickly expand beyond the original issue. In this case, renewed focus on Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson has reportedly triggered a fresh wave of online speculation involving Meghan, despite the lack of direct connection. What makes the entire situation feel so explosive is not merely the headlines themselves, but the fear that hidden histories, resurfaced documents, and long-buried tensions could suddenly emerge together. The royal family has survived countless scandals throughout history, but modern crises unfold differently. In the digital age, information spreads globally within minutes, and even unverified claims can dominate public conversation before facts are confirmed. This growing pressure reportedly intensified after legal and political shockwaves involving Prince Andrew once again became central to public debate. Allegations linked to his long-discussed association with Jeffrey Epstein have returned to international attention, reviving difficult questions that the monarchy has struggled to distance itself from for years. Reports circulating within this narrative describe renewed investigations, resurfaced records, and increasing scrutiny surrounding past communications and relationships tied to Epstein's network. Photographs, archived emails, travel records, and previously discussed documents have reportedly re-entered public conversation, adding fresh pressure on the royal institution. While legal outcomes remain uncertain and many claims continue to be debated publicly, the symbolic damage alone has proven significant. The very idea of a senior royal being associated with investigations of this scale has deeply affected public trust. For many observers, this moment feels larger than the personal downfall of one individual. Instead, it raises uncomfortable questions about privilege, silence, and institutional protection inside elite circles. Critics argue that the situation reflects deeper systemic issues surrounding accountability and influence within powerful institutions. As media coverage expands, attention has moved beyond Prince Andrew himself and toward the broader royal environment surrounding him over the years. Questions continue to emerge regarding how controversial relationships were allowed to remain close to royal spaces for so long without stronger intervention or transparency. Official responses from royal representatives have remained cautious and carefully worded. Public statements emphasize legal due process while attempting to maintain institutional distance from ongoing controversy. Yet, the limited nature of those responses has only fueled further speculation online and in the press. In moments like this, silence often becomes interpreted as strategy, protection, or even avoidance depending on the audience. Reports involving searches, reviews of historical communications, and renewed examinations of old records have added further uncertainty to an already volatile situation. Each development generates another cycle of headlines, online debates, and public fascination. Even figures only loosely connected to royal social circles suddenly find themselves pulled into discussions they never intended to join. The crisis has gradually evolved into something much broader than one scandal. It now represents a wider examination of power, privilege, reputation, and responsibility inside one of the world's most recognizable institutions. Every relationship, past interaction, and public appearance is now being reinterpreted through a far more critical lens. As pressure continues building, the monarchy faces one of its most uncomfortable modern realities. In today's world, even carefully protected institutions can lose control of the narrative almost overnight. And with old tensions resurfacing and unpredictable figures potentially preparing to speak, many believe this royal storm may only be beginning. Prince Andrew and the crisis reshaping the monarchy. The center of this unfolding controversy remains Prince Andrew, whose long-standing association with Jeffrey Epstein continues to cast a dark shadow over the British royal family. What was once treated by some royal supporters as an isolated reputational issue has now evolved into a broader crisis capable of affecting public confidence in the monarchy itself. According to reports and speculative narratives surrounding the situation, renewed investigations and mounting scrutiny have pushed Prince Andrew back into headlines worldwide. The allegations connected to Epstein's network have reignited public debate, forcing uncomfortable questions back into the spotlight years after many believe the scandal had begun fading from public attention. The intensity of this renewed focus comes from more than legal concerns alone. It also reflects growing frustration about how powerful institutions handle accusations involving influential figures. In the case of the monarchy, critics argue that public trust depends heavily on transparency and accountability. Whenever those qualities appear absent, suspicion tends to grow rapidly. Photographs linked to Epstein, archived communications, travel logs, and resurfaced records have reportedly intensified pressure surrounding Prince Andrew's past associations. Every new detail fuels another wave of discussion across television networks, online platforms, and international media outlets. Even without final legal conclusions, the public impact has already been severe. For the monarchy, the damage is deeply symbolic. Royal institutions depend heavily on public respect and the appearance of moral authority. When scandals involving senior royals dominate headlines, the institution itself becomes vulnerable to criticism far beyond the individuals directly involved. Observers have increasingly compared the situation to earlier royal crises that challenged the monarchy's image during previous generations. Although the modern royal family has survived divorces, scandals, and public controversies before, this situation feels particularly dangerous because it intersects with broader global conversations about privilege, power, and institutional protection. As investigations reportedly deepen, attention has expanded beyond Prince Andrew himself toward the environment that allowed certain relationships to remain close to royal circles for years. Questions are now being asked not only about personal conduct, but also about whether systems of status and influence discouraged stronger scrutiny in the past. This broader focus creates additional pressure for Buckingham Palace. The monarchy traditionally relies on carefully controlled public messaging and measured responses during moments of crisis. However, the modern media environment operates at an entirely different speed. Social media platforms amplify speculation instantly, while online discussions often continue regardless of official statements. Royal representatives have consistently emphasized legal due process and avoided detailed public commentary regarding ongoing matters. Yet, for many critics, cautious silence has only increased curiosity. In the absence of clear explanations, speculation tends to fill the vacuum. Reports within this narrative describing examinations of historical communications and alleged searches connected to royal environments have only intensified public fascination. Whether every detail proves accurate or not, the perception of instability alone creates reputational consequences. The monarchy now faces a difficult balancing act. On one hand, it must avoid appearing politically involved in legal matters. On the other, it must reassure the public that royal institutions remain committed to accountability and ethical standards. This challenge becomes even more complicated because modern audiences are far less willing to accept secrecy from powerful figures than previous generations were. Public patience for silence has weakened dramatically in the digital era, especially when controversies involve questions of privilege and influence. Prince Andrew's situation has therefore become larger than a personal scandal. It now serves as a test of how resilient the monarchy truly is under sustained pressure. Every headline, leaked report, or resurfaced document contributes to a growing perception that hidden tensions within royal life are becoming impossible to fully contain. At the same time, media attention has expanded toward other individuals connected socially or historically to royal circles. Some are drawn into discussions because of genuine past relationships, while others become targets of speculation simply through association. This atmosphere creates enormous uncertainty. Once a scandal reaches a certain scale, public curiosity spreads rapidly outward, pulling more names into the conversation regardless of direct involvement. The result is a climate where almost every connection becomes subject to analysis. Royal insiders reportedly fear that the situation could continue escalating if additional revelations, interviews, or historical records emerge publicly. In crises like these, unpredictability becomes one of the institution's greatest concerns. The monarchy operates most effectively when it controls timing, messaging, and public perception. Sudden disclosures threaten that control completely. Many observers believe this moment represents a major turning point for the royal family. It forces difficult conversations about how modern institutions manage controversy, protect reputations, and respond to public demands for transparency. For Prince Andrew personally, the consequences have already been enormous. His public image has suffered severe damage, his royal role has dramatically diminished, and his association with controversy continues overshadowing nearly every discussion involving his name. But for the monarchy itself, the stakes may be even higher. Public trust, once weakened, can be extremely difficult to rebuild, and as scrutiny intensifies, the royal family faces growing pressure to demonstrate that no institution remains beyond examination in the modern age. Sarah Ferguson and the possibility of disclosure. As controversy surrounding the monarchy continues growing, one of the most unpredictable figures suddenly returning to public conversation is Sarah Ferguson. Once viewed primarily through the lens of past tabloid scandals and royal drama, she now occupies a far more sensitive position within the current narrative unfolding around Prince Andrew and the royal institution. For years, Ferguson remained an unusual figure in royal life. Despite divorcing Prince Andrew decades ago, she maintained close ties with him and continued to exist near the edges of the royal family's private world. Unlike many former royal spouses who gradually fade from public relevance, Ferguson preserved relationships, social access, and visibility connected to royal circles. That long-term proximity is precisely why speculation surrounding her has intensified so rapidly. According to reports connected to this narrative, Sarah Ferguson may be reconsidering the silence she has maintained for years regarding private royal matters. Rumors of possible interviews, memoir discussions, or behind-the-scenes conversations have reportedly created anxiety within certain royal circles. What makes the situation especially delicate is not necessarily what Ferguson has publicly said so far, but what many believe she could potentially reveal if she chose to speak openly. Her decades-long connection to Prince Andrew places her in a uniquely informed position regarding royal relationships, private tensions, and institutional culture. Speculation within media circles suggests that she may possess personal recollections, documents, or observations capable of reshaping public understanding of certain royal controversies. Whether those claims are exaggerated or accurate, the possibility alone has become enough to generate serious discussion. The monarchy has historically relied heavily on discretion from insiders and former family members. Public silence often protects institutional stability. Whenever someone closely connected to royal life appears willing to speak candidly, concern naturally grows about how much private information could become public. Sarah Ferguson's complicated public history adds another layer to the story. During the 1990s, she became one of the monarchy's most heavily scrutinized figures, frequently targeted by tabloids and criticized for financial controversies, media appearances, and personal scandals. Over time, however, public perception toward her softened somewhat as newer royal dramas dominated headlines. Now, with Prince Andrew once again facing renewed scrutiny, Ferguson's role has become newly significant. Her continued loyalty toward Andrew over the years has often attracted attention. Despite public criticism surrounding him, she remained publicly supportive and reportedly maintained a close personal relationship with him long after their divorce. This loyalty creates both fascination and uncertainty. Some observers believe Ferguson would never intentionally damage Prince Andrew publicly, regardless of circumstances. Others suspect that years of media pressure, emotional strain, and changing public dynamics could eventually influence her decisions differently. The modern media environment also increases pressure dramatically. High-profile interviews, documentaries, and memoirs have become major cultural events capable of reshaping global narratives almost instantly. Within that context, even rumors of Ferguson speaking publicly become highly sensitive for the monarchy. Royal insiders reportedly understand that perception matters almost as much as facts during major scandals. The possibility of hidden information emerging can create instability before any actual disclosure even occurs. At the same time, Ferguson herself occupies a complicated emotional position within public opinion. Some people view her sympathetically as someone who endured relentless tabloid treatment for years. Others remain skeptical because of past controversies tied to finances and media exposure. This divided perception makes her unpredictable from a public relations standpoint. If she were ever to speak extensively about private royal experiences, reactions would likely vary dramatically depending on the audience. The broader controversy surrounding Prince Andrew has already forced the monarchy into a defensive position. Additional disclosures or insider perspectives could intensify that pressure significantly, especially if they touched on questions involving institutional culture, privilege, or long-standing royal relationships. For this reason, Sarah Ferguson's name continues resurfacing in discussions surrounding the royal crisis, not because she currently occupies a major official role, but because she represents something potentially dangerous to powerful institutions: proximity to private truths. Meanwhile, online discussions and media speculation continue amplifying every rumor connected to her possible involvement. In today's digital environment, even unconfirmed reports can gain momentum rapidly, creating narratives that spread internationally before official responses can contain them. The monarchy's challenge becomes increasingly difficult under those conditions. Every figure connected to past royal controversies suddenly carries renewed relevance. Old relationships are re-examined, historical interactions are reinterpreted, and previously forgotten moments become part of larger public conversations about accountability and secrecy. Whether Sarah Ferguson ultimately chooses silence or disclosure remains uncertain, but the mere possibility that she could speak openly has already become another source of instability during an already volatile period for the royal family. And as speculation continues building, many believe her next move could influence the direction of the entire narrative surrounding the monarchy's latest crisis.